Here's a concept as we talk about the automated business model. I'm going to give you a little bit of a peek, some insight into my mind and what I was thinking when I was coming up with the automated business model. This is the cash flow quadrant by Rich Dad Poor Dad or Robert Kiyosaki. You might have seen this, maybe you haven't. I'm not going to try to explain what this is, okay? If you need some clarification, there's a lot of people who've done a lot of reviews on what the cash flow quadrant represents, but this is not the time for me to explain what that is. Basically, what it comes down to is there's three ways that most people kind of know about how to generate money. They can generate income in three different ways. There's actually four, but most people know about either you work for somebody, which means you're an employee in the upper left-hand quadrant, the letter E, or let's say you want to open up a restaurant. You make the best burgers in town, or your family told you that you make great pancakes, so you made breakfast shop. So now you may be self-employed, meaning you still are employed, but you don't work for anyone. You work for yourself. You work 12 hours a day from the beginning of the shift to the end of the shift. You make sure everything is closed, accounted for. And then there's the third type, meaning you're a business owner. So you take that same restaurant, and instead of you making, the best pizza pies in town, let's say you buy into a franchise like McDonald's, and then you own the system. You own the McDonald's philosophy, the processes, the step by step by step. You own that. Now, the last time you went to McDonald's or Burger King or any other restaurant for that matter, chances are you didn't see the owner, did you? You didn't see the person back there flipping burgers and taking orders. Chances are you didn't see that owner. The owner was probably somewhere else taking care of some other business or enjoying their lives. But that doesn't mean that they stop making money. So most people know about how to have a job, meaning you're an employee, you work for a company, you either own a job, you work for your company, or you own a business. Now, there is a fourth type, and that's the investor. That's where money, the actual income, you make money on the income. You make money on the dividends, you make money on the cash outs, you make money on the payouts. So that's basically the cash flow quadrant in a nutshell. Now, when I got fired, this was the first time I got fired, and the last time, by the way. I knew that there was different types of income. This was my North Star, so to speak. I knew where I was heading because I knew after I got fired, the only thing to keep me from ever being fired was to not be an employee or not to be self-employed. And that was to be on the left side of the quadrant. Anything on the right side of the quadrant was acceptable. Now, I want to be very, very clear when I say this. There's nothing wrong with having a job, okay? I'm not the type of person that can sleep on the street. I'm gonna let you know that up front. I ain't that type of dude. I'm gonna do what I gotta do to support me and support my family. If you have to go back into the workforce to support your family, then my recommendation, homeboy, is to do that. Or homegirl, my recommendation is to go and do that. Do not be the type of person that can sleep on the street. It ain't that serious. Take care of your family, make sure they're safe, and do what you got to do on the side. But I knew that going into my business venture, I could not be an employee. I would leave too much power in someone else's hands, or I couldn't be self-employed because then I would have no time freedom. I had to be a business owner or I had to be an investor. Very intentional. So how did that apply to the notary industry? So the same concept here with the notary cash flow quadrant, meaning you're a signing agent on the left side, meaning you sign up for signing services and then they feed you, they give you an assignments, or you can be a notary public, meaning you work for a company or you work for yourself and you do everything. You basically own your job. You start from zero every day or you start from zero every week, and it's up to you to make all of the money for that day. You have to sacrifice your time. Your time goes into generating income for the business. Now, on the right side, when you're the business owner, now if you look at the green, it says 1% of 100 people. So that means, let's say you had 100 notaries that you work for, or work for you rather, and then you got a cut of 1% of each of those notaries. They're still working, but you have the capacity to generate income from their work. When you secure the lead or secure a contract or secure an appointment, and then you are the person who's Just like McDonald's, the customer comes to McDonald's, but you're not taking the order, you're not cooking the food, and you're not presenting the food. Someone else is doing that. Yes, you do pay them, obviously, but you also make a cut off the total earnings. And then the notary entrepreneur, meaning you are able to generate income in the notary space, in the notary field, without actually physically signing or stamping a document, which is the technical side of notary. So there's a different ways to earn income. And inside the notary industry, it's important that you are aware of these four. Again, I'm not against anybody who is a signing agent. All right. I talk a lot of trash and a lot of smack about people who do it, but I'm gonna be on the record. We understand what this industry is. Hopefully, if you do, if not, then I think you're in the right place. But understanding that there is a distinct difference between the two, a signing agent and a notary public or a notary entrepreneur. There's a distinct difference between the two. You have to acknowledge that. If you can't acknowledge that, then I think you'll always be in a sort of perpetual confused state. When I was a notary signing agent, I did it for 3 months. After about the third month, I realized that I was getting caught in a trap. I was becoming more of an employee for signing services in these title companies. And I was very adamant, like I said earlier, I did not want another job. That doesn't mean I didn't do it. That just meant that I cannot rely upon another company giving me business. So I had to either become a notary public or business owner or entrepreneur. And it was easy to figure out what I didn't want to do. Signing agent and notary public did not want to do that. So that was out of the question. So I had no choice but to become a business owner or entrepreneur. Okay. So when I knew that the left side of the quadrant is off the list, I had to work with the right side. Then it was much easier to navigate, much easier to move forward because I want to become a business owner. So here's an example of what the automated business model looks like. Let's start with something that looks a little bit familiar. Maybe you might actually physically still go into stores. That might be you. You might actually go into shopping malls. There's something a little nostalgic about it, especially if you are of a certain age. I'm 38 for the record, soon to be 39. So I grew up going to shopping malls. And a lot of kids my age did this. A lot of people worked at malls. A lot of people socialized at malls. A lot of events would happen down at shopping malls. A lot of restaurants, people would go eat. But nowadays, with the advancement of technology, this is it's kind of an outdated business model. The whole brick and mortar physical location is sort of outdated now. It's certainly not the future. Let's put it that way. It may not be dead yet, but let's think about the direction where it's going. The next 10 years, the next 20 years. Where will you be? How will you behave? How will you act in the next 10 years? One of the problems that outdated business model of having a physical location, how that translated into something that we see right now, which was the whole taxi cab model. If you think about it, if you needed a ride, if you needed to get somewhere, needed to be transported to the airport, how did you do it? You probably got a friend or family member to take you, or you took a taxi cab. At the end of the day, you still had to get there. So it was just a matter of figuring out how you would get there. Now, one thing that the cabs got wrong, or one thing that Blockbuster got wrong, right, in anticipating what the next 10 or 20 years was going to look like. And one thing that Netflix, and I kind of use that example with Blockbuster and Netflix. Blockbuster was a physical location. It was a very simple transaction where people wanted to watch a movie, family night, get pizza dinner, and then they went to this location and rented or borrowed movies. And then, for a fee, then they would return it for certain days. That was becoming an outdated business model as technology advanced. Netflix captured that, and now streaming is the norm, and it happened very quickly. Just like with Uber, just like with Lyft and other rideshare, the companies were strategically positioned for at the right moment. And this is what we can do with the notary business because it's an old, antiquated industry, and it hasn't been injected with technology in the same way that transportation has been around forever, but once technology touched it or you injected this level of updated processes, then you made it much more convenient, and then you've kind of eliminated all the competition. So a company like Uber is so successful because they're so reliable. The concept of on demand, the concept of I want things right now, they apply. And again, think about this as it relates to your notary business. When people call a notary, what are they saying? What think about this. They're all saying the same thing, by the way. So that's why I'm saying is you can work with just about anybody. They're what are they saying? A person who contacts you, what is it that they're actually asking? They may ask you, what time do you close? Or what's your hours? They may ask you about all these different questions. And yeah, it may be relevant, but ultimately, what are they asking you? When can you get here? What time can you get here and sign this document? That's what they're asking you. They're asking you for confirmation. They're asking you for reliability. So you bring this concept of on demand. I want this right now. I don't need a vehicle to come to my house and pick me up to take me to the airport right now. Or if you can't do it right now, then at least can you tell me when you get here? That's what that's the concept. That's the fresh idea that we are injecting or that the automated business model has injected into the notary business.